gonna jam out for a minute while people kind of trickle on. I know it's a Friday. Yay! Friday. I know it's a little bit later in the day, but I am gonna chat with you guys today about my story. Let me turn this music down a little bit. Hopefully Facebook Live doesn't kick me off because I have music on. But I've been noticing some people are doing these lives with music, which I loved. If you guys are on and you can hear me, say hello, put a heart, a smiley face, a thumbs up, whatever, just not the mad face because that makes me upset. I'm gonna talk to you guys today about my story. I know that it may not be new to you. Maybe some of you have heard my story, maybe some of you have seen it on YouTube, maybe you've seen me tell it in person. Hey guys, what's up? Hey Victoria, hey Renee, hey Stephanie. Maybe you guys have, I don't know, maybe you've heard my story a bunch of times and you're like, I don't want to hear this again. But the leaders and I who put this group together, you know, when we were first kind of coming up with the concept of it and coming together to figure out what content would be best and how we could best showcase the powerful opportunity that this business is, we thought, you know what? It can be hard sometimes coming from leaders who are seasoned, right? Coming from people in the business who seemingly had a better spot, had a better, they got in sooner, right? You hear people say that, they've been in for a couple years, and you can start to look at their social media and their numbers on the board and their success and their paychecks and all of this stuff, and it can sort of get overwhelming, right? It can get sort of, it can bog you down with, well, that person's successful because they've never been where I am, right? We can start to play the blame game. They've had an easier time than me and they didn't start where I started, and well, they're just lucky now. They can hit Success Club super easy every single month. And I feel like that's one of those things that begins to cloud our minds, right? I'm totally victim of that as well. I totally fall victim to the, oh, someone just tried to call my phone. I hope I didn't interrupt the live stream. Can you guys still hear me? Ah! Oh no. Can you guys still hear me? Tell me if you can. Okay, you can. So hearing those things can start to get in the stream of consciousness and get in front of, I can't be successful because of these things, or we can start to compare ourselves, right? And I'm gonna be super transparent. Here in the beginning, I fell victim to a lot of this stuff. I fell victim to comparing myself actually to a lot of leaders that were in this group because I was so far from feeling enlightened, feeling confident, feeling like I could actually run a business that was giving the same things that they were getting. I compare myself a lot to Lindsay Matway, Brittany Leggett, Lindsay Stay, Katie Hefner, all of the people who now I am running groups beside. And the only way I was able to do that, there's no difference between me and someone listening to this live stream, me and someone who just signed up yesterday. The only difference is getting out from your limiting beliefs, right? So I want to take it back, take you guys through my story, kind of listen with a different ear. Even if you have heard my story before, I'm going to drop some other little bombs in there that I've never told before. So basically, before I became a Beachbody coach, I was really lost. I had a really weak mindset. I was one of those people who I had severe anxiety and probably borderline depression, which I don't talk about as much anymore because I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I feed it, because it's still something that I deal with every single day in my life. My husband and I met in West Virginia, and before we got married, I failed to tell him that I was about $200,000 in defaulted student debt from college. Basically, I went to college like you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to pay someone to give you an education, figure something out when you're 18 years old that you want to be. I went to school for English journalism, basically because I couldn't go to school for acting, which is what I really wanted to do, so my mom kind of pigeonholed me into this kind of, and it's not her fault, that's just what you're supposed to do, right? That's what society tells us. Get into school, pay someone a large amount of money to go to school, and then that's what you're gonna be, and then you get a job, and you work that job, and you get a sensible $2 raise every 3 years if you're lucky, and then at 60 you can retire and live a healthy life. And I was really bogged down by the idea of that. I had gone to school, and when I got out of school, I decided that it was a really great decision for me to go on an acting tour, right? With all this debt and all of this anxiety, I should probably just blow that off and go on a tour. So I went on a national tour, and I started to get these 1-800 number calls on my phone pretty much every other day, and I would ignore them. 6 months went by, a year went by, and it started getting to the point where my mom was getting letters because she was a co-signer on my loans. I was getting letters. And then probably a couple months before my wedding, I had to sit Andrew down, and it had kind of trickled out of my mouth a couple times. Hey, I'm in a little bit of debt. Hey, these 800 numbers are debt collectors, and kind of just like brushed it off my shoulder. Then it got to the point where I was getting wage garnishment notices and court notices. At this point, we were both living in New York, still struggling, and I can remember the day so clearly. I was walking down the street in New York City. I was on 94th and 2nd, and I received a phone call from Wachovia Bank. This was my private lender. And on the phone, they said, your loan is in default, and if you don't pay us $180,000 right now, we're going to take you to court and you're going to go to jail. And for those of you who don't know, who have never been in private lender default from student loans, you can't file bankruptcy. Basically, they hold all the cards. So I worked out a plan with them, and my payments were $3,000 a month. And every 3 months, if I didn't pay the lump sum, they would increase that payment from the median of $3,000. So at this time, I was living in New York. I had just gotten this phone call, and I remember walking down the street, and I remember, I'm gonna get emotional because I don't talk about this anymore. And I remember thinking, I'll never get out of this. This is gonna be the rest of my life, forever. I'm always gonna have to work for someone else. I'm always gonna be a slave to these payments. I'm always going to be not happy. I'm never going to be able to give my husband the life that he wants because he didn't have a stitch of debt, did everything right, paid off everything, paid off his house, all of these things. And here I was with a seemingly perfect man, standing in front of him, telling him that we were going to be under this intense debt. And if I could communicate the weight of the debt, I can't in words. On that day, sitting on the front stoop of my New York apartment, thinking of all the bills piling up. I mean, just to live. We weren't going out anymore. We weren't having fun. We were constantly stressed. We were arguing. We weren't even married yet. We were trying to plan a wedding. And here was this debt that was so serious that they were mentioning wage garnishments and court and all of these things. And I literally had no money. I literally had maybe $1,000 in my checking account at the time. And the weight was so immense that I felt there is no out for me. There is no way out from this. The job, I was working in corporate America at the time because we had moved to New York City. Andrew had been laid off. It was just a trickle effect of all of these things contributing to a negative mindset, contributing to a we'll never get out of this. And we were in a really, really, really dark place. On that day, we kind of put our heads together and said, okay, we have to handle this, right? Life moves forward, and whatever's happening, whatever's in front of you, you have to handle it, right? There's no, I wish it wasn't happening. There's no ignoring it. There's none of that stuff. You just have to move forward. So we agreed that we would make choices moving forward that would get us to the other side of that. Andrew applied to be in the military, and we waited and paid those $3,000 a month payment, and every 3 months they went up $500. So by the time we moved to California with the Air Force, it was about $3,800 a month. This is on top of living expenses, other student debt, cell phones, bills, cars, all of that stuff. So if you can imagine kind of, when I say we were in a really bad position, it was very, very bad. So when we got to California, this was kind of the height of my anxiety, as you can imagine, right? All of that weight constantly all the time of how do I get out of debt and still be happy, right? And still be happy and make a difference and you know, have a fulfilling life. So when we first moved to California, I thought, okay, well, what am I good at? and I was very doubtful at the time, and I thought, I'm not really good at anything. So I started to just look on Craigslist and apply to jobs. I knew that working out kind of gave me relief from my anxiety, and I knew it was a good place to channel energy. So I hoofed it and walked around to a bunch of gyms in the area and literally walked in and asked them if they had a personal trainer training program. I found one gym named In Shape Gym in California, and they were willing to have me work at the gym, and they would pay for my personal training certificate. Now at this time I was super excited. I'm like, man, I'm gonna make it. Personal trainers make so much money. They train famous people. I'm in California, I'm near LA. It's just gonna be awesome. I'm gonna make my own hours, I'm gonna be happy, and I'm gonna pay off all my debt, right? Turned out not the case. It was great because I got to concentrate on moving my body and feeling good and pouring into others. However, I made about $8 an hour at In Shape, so that clearly wasn't enough. So I got a job at a different gym after they paid for my certification. And basically I entered into the rat race once again. I had to get a third job, which was coaching gymnastics. So basically my life looked like I would wake up at 4 a.m., 3 or 4, depending on the day, weekend, weekday, and I would go in and train people before they went into work. That's a really popular time for the gyms, right? So the way the gyms that I worked, they gave you clients. So that was one thing that I was thankful for. I didn't have to hoof it or anything. However, they paid the gym $50 for 30 minutes, and I got $8 of that. So I would have tons of mornings where I would drive into the gym and nobody would show up. I would have tons of days where I would be working from 4 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night. So after I was done training my morning clients, then I would go over to the gymnastics gym and train gymnastics to little kids. And then after that, I would drive to a different gym and train people after they got home from work till about 11. So at this point, my husband was in the military, in the Air Force, and that was amazing for us because it did provide us housing and all of that kind of stuff. But if you guys are familiar with the military kind of structure, he was brand new officer, just out of officer training school, so that wasn't enough, right? So I had to supplement with 3 other jobs. So I would wake up at 4, I wouldn't see Andrew until probably 11 o'clock at night, and sometimes not at all because he worked very different 16-hour schedules, like in increments. So sometimes he would be gone all night long, and I would wake up before he was even home and then come home after he had already left. So we were kind of newlyweds living this life that was entirely stressed, right? Newlyweds living a life not together, not being happy, not moving forward, not even spending time with each other. So I thought, okay, this cannot be what life is like. And when I tell you guys, when I tell new coaches this story, I think it's hard to relate because you guys go to my social media or you see my success and you think, oh, well, she's always had this like super dynamic personality and been super good at social media and you know, her coach is Lindsay Matway, so she gave her all the answers. And that's just not the case. So one day I was searching on Craigslist for another job because I was still drowning. And I came across an ad, and this is illegal, by the way. You cannot advertise for Beachbody on Craigslist, so don't think about it. I saw an ad that I did not answer, just basically planted the seed, and it said, work from home and get paid. I thought, okay, that's a big old scam. And I brushed it off and brushed it off and brushed it off because I kept seeing it pop up in like random places. And funnily enough, I had done P90X and Insanity way back in the day. I had done P90X with Andrew, actually, when we were first started dating, and I had a bootleg copy of Insanity, Don't Tell Corporate, that I did with my friends a while ago, and it basically killed me. So I kind of knew that Beachbody was legit. I knew of its programs. I knew that they gave me results. I knew that I liked them. I knew they had been around a while. I knew who Tony Horton and Shaun T were. So I thought, that would be kind of cool if it was real, but it's probably not. So I typed in Beachbody to Google one day. I had been like walking behind someone randomly in the mall where the gymnastics gym was that I taught at, and they were talking about Beachbody. And I thought, that's really weird that it keeps like showing up in my life. So I went on and typed in Beachbody into Google, and Lindsay Matway's website came up. That's who my sponsor coach is. And initially when I saw her website, I thought, okay, they pay these people, they pay this girl to come on and talk about Beachbody to get people to sign up. Now, when I first was like researching Beachbody and looking into it, I had no idea what an MLM meant. I knew that it was an MLM, but I didn't know that it was network marketing type. And the knowledge that I had of network marketing was really, really negative. So the knowledge that I had of network marketing was you have to have parties at your house and buy a bunch of inventory and keep it at your house. And then if you don't sell it, you're kind of shit out of luck. And the movie that kept popping into my head was that movie with Will Smith where he buys all of those x-ray machines and they're stacked up in his apartment. And he like gets a divorce and has to live in a bathroom with his kid. What is that movie? Oh my gosh, it's gonna kill me. I use a clip from it in my new coach training. I'll think of it. But that thought kept coming into my head, like, don't do something that's going to put you deeper in a hole. So one of Andrew and I's strategies was no money going out, right? We analyzed every single dollar. Pursuit of Happiness, thank you so much. Yes, that's the movie that kept coming into my head. I kept thinking I'm gonna have all these x-ray machines stacked up in my house and gonna put my family in a worse position. I had a ton of anxiety about the position that I put my family in because it was virtually my fault, right? It was my fault for not taking responsibility for it. It was my fault for going to school and being careless with it. I felt a sense of responsibility for it. So I also had this burning thing inside me that I was going to fix it, because up until this point, it had been Andrew fixed it, right? He sacrificed and went to officer training school and he wasn't happy with what he was doing. He wasn't particularly happy with his job in the Air Force, because as you guys know, it's kind of like needs of the Air Force or needs of the military when you get into that. So long story short, I found Lindsay on Facebook and I started following her. And this is a really important clue for you guys if you are thinking about how to attract people like me. I don't know if you guys want to comment, but how many people would like to attract a coach like me on your team? I want to talk about what I was attracted to and then kind of my evolution with the company. So I started following Lindsay on Facebook and I thought, man, she is so blessed. She is living the life that I want to live. She was in debt. Now she has freedom. Now she's happy. Now she helps people. She works from home. She makes her own schedule. These are all things that I gleaned just from watching her social media. That's why it is so important to talk about the benefits of coaching every single day. Talk about what it gives you. Talk about what you do all day. Talk about where it's brought you from, what it gives you, even small little successes. I remember a couple posts in particular, she was talking about the 30-day Chalene challenge that she was doing and how much better she felt and how much more productive she felt. And this was on her Instagram. And I thought to myself, man, if I could feel that feeling, if I could just feel that feeling, if I could feel this anxiety from debt lifted for just 10 minutes, I would have a more productive day today and I would have a better life today. If I could just get a piece of that community that she's talking about or that feeling that she's talking about, I would be happier every single day. So she did a very good job of showcasing what it meant to be a coach. So I reached out to her, I filled out an application on her website, and I still was convinced that she was a fake person. And then she answered me back. And then of course told me that I had to buy, well, not had to, but that the best way to sign up was to buy a challenge pack. Now, hearing my story of all that debt, what do you think the first thing that popped into my mind about buying a challenge pack was? Immediately, I shut my computer and walked away and said, it's a scam. I knew it the whole time. It's a total scam. You know, she's lying on her social media because I have to buy this thing. And I wrote her back, and you can ask Lindsay. I wrote her back for a laundry list of questions, probably like 10 questions or so. I wish that I could scroll back through all the messages and see the first. I was one of those people that was like, do I have to buy a challenge pack? What if I just sign up with the $40? I can't afford that right now. My husband and I are in a really bad position. And then I said, you know what? I can't, I have to go check with my husband. And the thing that I remember so well about that conversation is that Lindsay said to me, that's totally okay. Take all the time you need, go talk to your husband, and we'll touch base later. And I thought to myself, this created kind of like a feeling of urgency for me. I thought to myself, wait, doesn't she want me? What do you mean that it's okay if I talk to you later? And it almost felt like there was no desperation. There was no, please, please, please sign up. There was no, it was just the air with which she carried herself in our conversation was very much like, I know what I have can make your life better. If it's not the right time, totally cool, but I know for a fact that this could change your life. If you are not communicating that air to the people that you're talking to, that could be a clue to why it's hard for you to close conversations, to close new coach signups, to close challengers. If you do not believe in your gut that what you are talking about can change a life, then that's probably what's leaking into your conversations, right? So I talked it over with Andrew, and we had a really serious talk about, he followed Lindsay, he looked at her social media, he came back to me and he said, you know what, babe, I think you could really be successful at this. And one of the things that really led me to sign up was, you know, seeing her social media and the progression of her success, right? Saying, I could definitely do that, and I could do that for others as well. And I think, you know, people ask me all the time, what is the reason why you're so successful? And the reason why I'm so successful is because there was no other option for me. This was kind of, in a little nutshell, something that could save my life, change my family's circumstance, and also let me live a happy, free life. Like, people always ask me, what does your daily life look like as a coach? I mean, it's different every day, right? Because I have the freedom now to choose when to work, to choose where to work, to choose who I work with, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, I will say that for the first time in my life, I was really challenged when I signed up as a coach. And one thing that always stuck with me with what Lindsay kind of communicated to me in our first couple messages is that she said, you could totally be successful at this, but it does not come without hard work. And I feel like, and this is going to be kind of a truth bomb, if you are a coach on this call, you know, struggling with, I'm not moving forward, struggling with the belief, struggling with whether it works for you or it's going to work for your coaches or whatever you're struggling with, I can tell you 100% it's because you're not putting in what you want to get out of it. The second that Lindsay said to me, this is not up to me, I forget what the phrasing was. It was kind of like, you run, I run, you walk, I walk. And then a light bulb moment went off in my head. And I thought, you know, for all of my life, up until this point, I've been walking. I've been strolling. I've been bitter that other people don't have debt. I've been bitter that I don't have a job that's flexible. I've been bitter that I didn't get to have the wedding I wanted because I was in debt. I never stood up and took action and did the work for the outcome that I wanted until someone looked at me and said, you're totally capable. However, no one can do this for you but you. If you are someone on this call and you have ever thought about Beachbody, I'm not capable enough, I can't do that, I could never have that success, you are the only thing standing in front of yourself right now. You're the only thing standing in front of your success right now. And I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt, because up until the day I signed up as a Beachbody coach, I thought, I'm not capable, I can't have that life, I could never be successful at that, I could never move forward. And then the second that someone looked at me and said, are you running when you want the outcome of what comes from running? Are you actually putting the work in? Are you actually following directions? Are you actually staying up and doing the work and waking up early and doing the work? Are you actually doing it? Because the answer for me all my life until that day was no. Absolutely freaking not. I sat behind the things that I was scared of. I sat behind the things that I used as excuses. I used my debt as a shield. I used my debt as I can't do that, I have debt. I could never do that, I have debt. I can't sign up for that, I have debt. And my husband looked me in the eye and he said, if this can be the outcome of that, we can absolutely invest in that. It has to be something. I placed guidelines on my business and I said, if in 30 days I haven't made this, then I can send it back, right? So it was dire for me. It had to work for me. And if you're on this call, I can probably say that it's dire for you too, because you wouldn't be taking the time to be on this call. So listen to me now. There is always going to be hard shit in whatever job you have, right? If you're in this group, you're a Beachbody coach and you want to make it work. And there is a quote from the girl who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, and she said, every job has a shit sandwich that you have to eat, right? So what is the freaking alternative? I've been hearing people, the compensation plan needs to change. The opportunity is just not there anymore. There's a Beachbody recession. Bull freaking shit, you guys. Bullshit. All of that is you protecting yourself, just like I was using my debt and all of those things. All of that is you protecting yourself from having to do the work to move forward. Did I just blow your mind? All of those things are you protecting yourself, and Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, from you moving forward. Within 6 months of starting my business, I matched the income from those two extra jobs, and I quit the 2 jobs. 3 months after that 6 months mark, I quit my 3rd job. Now, my circumstance was very different. I didn't have kids. My husband was gone all the time, and I was basically working like a dog because I had to move forward, right? If I can do this, the point I'm trying to make, anyone watching this live stream can do it, right? It does not come without hard work. Beachbody does not guarantee any level of success or income. I have to say that. But I'm sitting here today, coming back from a place that no one comes back from, completely debt-free, living in our own house. My husband is retired from the military, and there's nothing special about me. This opportunity changes lives, but it can't change your life unless you do the work, unless you realize that the excuses you're making are you stopping yourself from living the life you want to live. And that's very common. We all do it, right? We're human beings. We need kind of disruption in our life. We need turmoil. We need anxiety. We create it for ourselves, right? If you do not believe and if you do not get out from those excuses, you can never be successful. I want you to take away a couple things from this call. Number 1, you are 100% capable. I had no knowledge of social media, no knowledge of Beachbody, I was the shittiest personal trainer you ever did meet. I was filled with anxiety, I was filled with doubt, I was filled with comparison. There were so many bumps along the way. I failed a lot, I didn't meet goals a lot. To someone outside of my story, it might think, oh man, it's always super easy for her. She just soared right up the ladder and it's so easy for her all the time. Not the case. There were days where I thought this isn't gonna work. There were days where I thought I sucked. There are still days I just had a massive leader on my team quit. There are still days where I still feel bad. I feel like a bad leader. That's okay. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to have doubts. It is not okay to have a backdoor exit from the business and not believe in yourself. It is not okay, so that stops here. I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm getting really fired up, but that's my story. Hopefully you can take away that nothing about my story said success before this. Nothing about my story gave me a leg up. In fact, I was probably in a worse situation than a lot of people. You have to find that piece of yourself that says, number 1, I can do this, and number 2, I need to work hard. Because if I did it in that amount of time, you guys should be able to do it from this point forward in less amount of time. In less amount of time. The uplines and the resources and the groups and the trainings that you guys have access to blows my freaking mind. Tony Robbins says there is no lack of resources, there is only a lack of resourcefulness. There is a saying that if you took all of the wealth away from everybody in America and put it in a little pot, and then you redistributed it evenly amongst everybody, that wealth would still find the top 1%. Why? Because they're masters of up here. If you love Beachbody, if you love the products, if you love the results, if you love the community, you can be successful at this. I guarantee you, if you took all the wealth and ranks away from Beachbody coaches, it would find the same top Beachbody coaches right now. Do you want to know why? Because they control up here. My story is one of controlling your mind, and it is a constant, everyday battle. But the one thing that will stop you from being successful in this business above everything else is the mindset that it doesn't work, and the mindset that you don't believe, and the mindset that you can't move forward. I went to work every single day on my Beachbody business, and I acted as if I was where I wanted to go. I saw myself sitting on a top 10 panel. I saw myself, tonight I'm going to play mini golf with Lindsay. What? Like, I saw myself where I wanted to be, and then I went there. Every person on this call is capable of the success that I have, and I would never get on a call like this and tell you that if it wasn't true. I've just rambled on for a very long time, but I hope that you can find in my story power, strength, the feeling that you can do it, the feeling that you're worthy, the feeling that you have power. This opportunity is incredible. The need is there. It is recession proof, and a recession is coming. Whatever situation you're in, you can get out of. I love you all. We believe in you all. Take advantage of this group. Soak in the inspiration. Soak in the information. Don't be a wallflower. Put it into effect. Tell it to your teams if you have them, and preach it from the rooftops, because if you don't believe, no one else around you will believe.